Loree McBride does not have an open and shut case against Brent Spiner. I've written a novel called Silver Skies with many scenes set in Brent Spiner's hometown, Meyerland or Bel Air, Texas, because his love for me inspired me to become a writer. It's available through Amazon.com as a Kindle book for $8.99 in US dollars. I do believe that Loree McBride can claim her baby has Brent Spiner's genes. However, I do not believe that she can claim this baby was conceived through sexual intercourse with Brent Spiner. I believe that Loree McBride is either a Jesuit or works for the Jesuit order. I also believe the Jesuits are the most powerful and richest organization on earth. My relationship with Brent is detrimental to the interests of the Jesuit order, who strive for a world takeover and need to take over the United States to accomplish this. They need to eliminate or weaken relationships that could lead to bad press for them. For this reason, they have especially concentrated on all my relationships with famous or influential men, because I know too much about them, and if I had a valid relationship with a famous man like Brent Spiner, I could bring them catastrophic exposure and defeat their goals for a world takeover. Jesuits have mind-reading technology. We know this for certain. With their mind-reading technology, they determined in 1991 that Brent Spiner was in love with me. They had to take serious measures to deal with this problem because I know too much about them. I get a lot of my information from sources outside the mainstream news media, sources actually more accurate than the mainstream news media and more reliable. To learn of these sources, visit my website at gabriellechana.blog, gabriellechana.com. Anyways, Jesuits determined back in 1990 and 1991 that Brent's love for me required serious measures. The solution? Loree McBride. In September 1992, during the filming of A Fistful of Datas, Loree somehow drug-raped Brent Spiner and he woke up in bed with a strange woman next to him. It was Loree McBride. It appears she somehow got a hold of his semen. This devastated Brent, and you can see the devastation on his face in the Star Trek The Next Generation episode called A Fistful of Datas, filmed in September 1992. At this time, he was in love with me and did not desire a romantic relationship with Loree McBride. He called me on the phone while I lived in Seattle and made love to me on the phone several times. This was from 1991 to 1993. And then often just let the phone ring to call me. The voice and personality matched exactly the voice I heard in Brent's music album, Old Yellow Eyes Is Back. It seemed to me he made this music album for me because he sings about a woman he loves, who's not beside him, and who he longs for. You may say, are you sure that the phone caller was not Brent, but a sex pervert imposter? At first I thought it was a sex pervert, and the phone calls really freaked me out. But when Melody Rondeau mailed me Brent's album, Old Yellow Eyes Is Back, in June 1991, I figured out that it was Brent. And he was never threatening, but very considerate, but just called me and sounded like he was crazy about me when he made love to me on the phone. I'm convinced the caller was Brent Spiner. And every time I sent him a letter to his fan mail address at Paramount Studios in the early 1990s, he'd respond to me with a deluge of phone rings. He was crazy about me. And he gave me lots of attention all the way to 2001, when I moved to Florida and no longer had a landline phone of my own. So I know he could not have loved Loree McBride, not with all the attention he was giving me. Yes, it's possible to fall deeply in love with someone long distance, because that's what happened between Brent and myself. But now that Loree had his semen as evidence, she would never give Brent Spiner freedom from her. She has used this to extort Brent and Paramount Studios, to force Brent into a public relationship with her, to create the false impression that she and Brent have had a sexual relationship. You may say, how can you claim that she and Brent have not had a sexual relationship with all these photos of her and Brent as a romantic couple plastered all over the internet and the presses and the websites? Once Loree obtained Brent's semen as evidence against him, and because she won't let it go, and forced Brent into a public romantic relationship with him, the Jesuits began a massive publicity campaign to promote their lie that Brent and Loree have had a sexual relationship since about 1994. The richest and most powerful organization on earth would have no trouble creating fake photographs and convincing and believable stories through websites and other means that Brent and Loree had a sexual relationship. Here are the inconsistencies. Why are there no or few videos of Brent and Loree together as a couple? Answer: it's harder to fake videos over photographs, and most of the photos of Brent and Loree together at all these functions never happened. The photos are lies. That's why there are no or few videos of Brent and Loree together at these functions. Brent has not appeared with Loree at these functions. Why did Brent listen to me on the phone since about 1991 and read all my letters to him and view videos of me since 1991 and have a public, romantic relationship with Loree at the same time? Answer: he's always wanted me and never wanted Loree. But Loree set things up that he had to have her as a public girlfriend where she'd go to the presses with her lies that she and Brent have had sex. She used drug rape or some other type of rape to extort him to maintain her relationship with him. Loree always has threatened Brent with the tabloids and the presses if he won't go along with her agenda. She threatens to smear him with the press. You may say, but Brent could not have read your letters and listened to you just about every day from 1991 to now. We can prove that he did through computer memory brain reads. We have this technology now, and yes, he has been consumed with me since 1991. We now have the technology to determine how a baby has been conceived. We can scan the memories of a person and determine who that person's had sex with and whether he or she has had sex with a certain person. And this is reliable enough to be admitted as evidence in a court of law. That's because mind-reading technology does exist. And this technology can be used as evidence in a court of law because we can read a person's memories and produce this as a transcript to be used as legal evidence in the courtroom. And through computer memory reads, we have determined that the baby Loree McBride delivered that does have Brent Spiner's genes was not conceived through sexual intercourse but with Brent Spiner, but through artificial insemination with Brent Spiner's stolen genetic material. This baby was conceived to be used as a weapon to extort Brent Spiner into a marriage with Loree, though he's never married her. Brent has only partially cooperated with this extortion into his love life, and that he has not publicly refuted the websites that claim he and Loree are married and that they've had a baby together. However, he has gone out and said that Loree is his girlfriend and that he's not married to her in his 2008 Dave Rabbit radio interview. So why won't he just go out and say that he's not had this baby with sex through, with Loree? The answer is pretty obvious. The baby has his genes. So who's going to believe him when he says it was conceived outside of sexual intercourse? And this is how Loree McBride has gotten Brent Spiner's cooperation. The brilliant Jesuits found a way to get Brent married to their woman in order to devastate his love for me and make it impossible for him to marry me, which I believe is what he's wanted since 1991. So you might say, I can't imagine that Brent would want to marry a woman like you, who's read the King James Bible from cover to cover over 100 times. He's actually one of the most open-minded and tolerant persons I've ever dealt with, and not as bigoted and closed-minded as people like Loree McBride and the Jesuits, who are only interested in political correctness and being socially acceptable as part of their brainwashing agenda to prep the world for their takeover. Loree does not have an open and shut case against Brent Spiner because we, with computer brain reads, have determined that her baby, though it has Brent's genes, was not conceived through sexual intercourse with Brent Spiner. I can't do this subject justice in 10 minutes. I'm working on a second book right now.